Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, my name is Janelle and I upload new videos every Wednesday. And in today's video, I wanted to share with you guys a makeup for beginners 101. So many times us as makeup artists and YouTubers, we just assume everybody knows everything about makeup. For the most part, a lot of you guys do, but there are those of you out there who don't have time to be sitting on YouTube all day or who aren't makeup artists, but you want to know how to do like a basic good makeup look. So I made this video for those of you out there who want to learn more in depth about the basics and you want to learn about brushes. So, and not to mention, like, what better time to learn than those of you, if you're at home, you can literally like do this for your at-home workday and no one's gonna judge how you do your makeup because there's no one there to judge you. Also, if you have nothing else to do when you're at home, might as well just play with makeup. Now's the time for like trial and error and just see what works for you, see what doesn't. Anyways, if you guys want to see how I got this look, just like a super easy glam look that's super affordable, then definitely please keep watching. But before you continue, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified every Wednesday when I upload. I love you guys so much, and without any more rambling, let's get into this makeup look. Alright, so we are barefaced, we're ready to get started. So it doesn't matter how expensive of a foundation or primer you're using, you want to make sure you are using good skincare and you are hydrating your skin. Even if your skin is the most oily skin on the planet, you want to moisturize it because basically when you wash your face, you strip it of its natural oils. So if you have oily skin, you wash your face, you're stripping of its natural oils, so now your skin is going to overcompensate by producing more oils. So by not moisturizing, you're actually making your skin more oily. So just find like an oil-free moisturizer or a gel-based moisturizer. So a good lightweight one is by CeraVe. They have one for normal to dry skin and they also have one for oily skin. Another one that I've been using lately is this Nivea cream. So I actually watched a video and this is supposed to be a dupe of a La Mer moisturizer. Since my skin is more normal now, especially during this time of year, it can be more normal, not as oily. I like to use a heavier moisturizer and then I just layer powders and stuff on top to balance it out. Your moisturizer is gonna work better than any primer on the planet. So once your skin is moisturized, now you can go ahead and prime your skin. Now this step is completely optional. Like I said, for the most part, moisturizing your skin will be enough. However, if you are very oily, a primer will basically just help your makeup last longer. It'll normally like mattify your skin, smooth it out. And then if your skin is more dry, your primer will normally just hydrate your skin even more so that your makeup again goes on smoother and lasts longer. So if you have larger pores and oily skin, you basically just want to look for anything that says like smoothing, mattifying. If you're more dry, just look for something that says hydrating and you're good to go. This one is a good universal primer. This is the Catrice Prime and Fine Primer, and I like applying my primer upward and your pores naturally face down, so by blending it up it just really smooths everything out. So following that, I'm actually gonna go ahead and fill in my brows before I do my foundation. For my brows today, I'll be using my Morphe brow pencil. I recommend using a pencil as a beginner. It just is so much easier to work with, and one like this that's like super fine is very forgiving. It lets you create hair-like strokes. It keeps your brows natural. For beginners, I don't recommend trying to go too bold with the brows. Like, you want to keep everything very refined and natural. Basically, what you're gonna do is assess the brows. I have a bald spot here and like some patchiness throughout here. So that's what I will correct first. Basically, what I do is I do hair-like strokes, just following the direction of my brow hairs. As you can see right here, they go more horizontal. And as I fill in the tail, the hair-like strokes go downward. And then toward the front they go upward. So now that I've corrected most of the bald spots, I can go ahead and just kind of like lightly outline the bottom of my brow. Literally just following the direction of my brow hairs and following my natural shape. I'm not doing anything crazy. The key is doing soft hair-like strokes and slowly adding versus doing too much all at once and then like trying to take away. So you can see my brows look a little bit fuller, but they don't look like crazy. And if you're somebody that already has really full, even brows, you honestly could skip this step altogether and just take a clear brow gel or even a clear mascara. This one is by MAC, and you can run that through your brows and you're good to go. I'm gonna add some on top. And you don't have to do all the steps that I'm doing all at once. I'm just touching on everything so that you guys can learn a little bit of everything. So if you're a beginner, one thing that I suggest if you do want to do eyeshadow is to do your eye makeup first. And the reason why I suggest that is because when you do your eyeshadow, a lot of times you get fallout or you may not get the shape perfect. So if you don't have foundation on, it's really easy to just take a makeup wipe, clean up the fallout, clean up the edges, and then it perfects your eye makeup look. You can be as messy as you want and you can just erase it with a makeup wipe. So I'm going to start by priming my eyelids. So to do that, I'm just going to be using a concealer. I'm using my Milani Conceal and Perfect in Concealer. This one is a great concealer for priming your lids because it's not too greasy, it smooths out the eye, it lasts a long time. You do want to be careful though if you are using too much of a hydrating concealer on the eyes and then you're putting shadow on top, it can tend to make your eyeshadow oily or crease the shadow. What I like to do is I'll take the wand of the concealer and you want to use a light hand. Everything that you do, just start very little and then you can slowly build it up. I like to start by just outlining underneath of my brow to clean it up. And then I do a dot on my lid. And then you can either take your finger or any sort of like flat top concealer brush, literally any brush that looks like this. I'm gonna go ahead and drag this down. I'm doing soft patting motions. You don't want to rub it because if you rub it, you might mess up your brows that you just did. Into my inner corner and make sure you drag that concealer in this inner part because most people carry a lot of darkness in there. You can use the eyeshadow base as well to prime your eyelids. They normally help the eyeshadow last longer, but to start off I would just suggest getting a good concealer, and then later on if you want to get an eyeshadow primer you definitely can. So see, this is canceling out my lid so that way when I go in with my eyeshadows I have a nice clean canvas to work with. Alright, so next I'm just taking a transparent powder to set my eyelids. I'm going to take that with the same brush that we used to blend out the concealer. You want to do this before applying your eyeshadow because this will help the shadow go on smoother and it'll help it not stick to your wet concealer. So for my eyes, the first color that I'm going to place is going to be my crease color. So my crease color is going to be the color I place right in here. And basically this color is going to work as a guide of how high up I want the rest of my shadows to go. The rest of my shadows shouldn't go above where I place that crease color. Your crease color should be just like one shade darker than your skin tone, something super soft and subtle. So a lot of times what I like to do is I'll go in with my bronzer, is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and I'll take a color like this in my crease. You see it's slightly darker than my skin tone, but not too dark. Or you could take an eyeshadow palette. One of my favorite beginner eyeshadow palettes is the Jaclyn Hill palette, just because it has a lot of transition colors. You have darker colors that you can work with too. Milani is also a brand at the drugstore that has great eyeshadow palettes. They come with like 14 colors. They're small enough to where you don't get overwhelmed, and they have so many pretty neutral colors. To start off this look, I'm actually going to start with the bronzer just because this is what I do on most days when I want a super easy makeup look. To blend out your crease color, you just want to take any sort of fluffy brush. I have this one by MAC. See how it's nice and fluffy? It's dome shaped so it fits right in the socket of my eye. Also take a Wet n Wild one. This one is literally 99 cents. Same exact shape, it fits right in the socket of your eye. See, you don't want to take a brush like this in your crease because it'll pack on too much of the color and not give you a diffused finish. Lightly grazing it, and you just want to look straight into a mirror. Don't tug at your eye, don't close it, and just blend that right in your crease. I try to keep the color higher up. I don't like to drag it too far down because I don't want to weigh down the eye. I think the biggest key too when you're starting off with makeup is to just keep everything soft. Once you master the soft, natural makeup looks, then you can start playing with the bolder colors. So fluffy brushes like this are just gonna evenly disperse the product without packing on too much. You wanna use more dense brushes if you wanna get more of that like darker outer corner color. Alright, so before I dip into a darker color, I'm literally gonna take some more of that same color with the same exact brush. I'm gonna pick up some more product. This time I'm going to apply it lower in my crease, so I don't want it to go past where the edge of that shadow is. I'm going to pack it about right in here. And I'm just going to stamp it first on this outer third and then just press it up into my crease. Not doing so much wiping motions like I was doing last time, doing more like soft little circular motions. And see how now it looks like it's two different colors, but really it's the same exact shade. I'm just packing it a little bit more intense lower in my crease. So basically whenever you pack product, that's going to give you more color payoff whenever you're buffing, it's spreading it out more, so it's not going to pack on or give you as much of an intense color payoff. So you could go in with a darker color if you wanted to, if like it's more of an evening occasion and you just want it a little bit more smoky. So to do that, I'm going to take this color right here. It's just like a slightly darker brown. So I'm going to focus this color on the outer edge. But again, your dark colors, you don't want it to go above where you place that last color. So I'm stopping where I'm patting it right when it meets the edge of the previous shadow. Whenever you're working with dark colors, you want to do really soft patting motions. Again, you don't want to buff it because you don't want to get that color everywhere. And I'm just focusing it, like I said, on the outer third of the eye. Once I pack most of the product there, I'm just going to lightly sweep it inward. And again, even though I'm sweeping it inward, I'm keeping it below where I have that previous color. That really didn't add too much definition, so you could honestly probably skip this shadow and go in with a darker color than the one that I just did. Sometimes it's nice to use multiple colors if you want a really smooth, even transition. Now I'm going to take a really small detailed brush. This one is by Morphe, and this time I'm going to take a darker brown. This color right here, and I'm going to focus this right on my lash line, on this outer third here. Again, we don't want it to go up higher than that last color. So I'm just going to start by stamping it. I'm just stamping it on this outer edge here. And this will also kind of work as like a liner. I'm going to lightly tap it inward. The closer I get to the inner corner of my eye, I'm coming underneath and patting it like that versus like right on my lid. So now I'm just taking that first blending brush and I'm just softening up the edges, barely grazing over top of where I just placed that color. So see, now I'm getting a little bit more definition with my eye. Alright, so now that you have your crease colors, you see all this crazy fallout? It's fine, you just take a clean makeup wipe, and what I do is I go under my eye like this, and then I just angle it again up toward the edge of my eyebrow, and voila, you got a clean canvas. So once I cleaned it up, I noticed I wanted the outer corners a little bit darker, so I'm going back in with the last color that we took with the pencil brush. This time I'm just taking a pea-sized amount on my blending brush, cutting off the excess, and then I'm just lightly tapping it, barely like with any pressure, I'm just lightly tapping it on the outer corner. Like I said, the key is just like using the lightest amount of pressure. Don't be so aggressive with your eye. So now that we have our crease colors done, you see our eyelids are still blank. You can literally use whatever color you want. Any color under the sun. What do I want to take? I'm going to take a champagne because I feel like those are the most versatile. So I'm going to take this color in the Jaclyn Hill palette. Just a beautiful champagne satin color. I'm going to take that with my finger. I love applying shimmers with my finger. I'm not rubbing it. I'm literally just tapping it on my eye. And then now you see how like this edge isn't blended into that shimmer. I'm just taking the same blending brush and just lightly blending the edges of this shimmer, just so everything looks really smooth. If you didn't want to use your finger to apply your lid color, any sort of flat top brush will apply shimmers great. This one by Wet n Wild is great for applying shimmers. Any sort of like flat shader brush will work. And next I'm going to highlight my inner corner. Any light shimmer will work. So this one in the Jaclyn Hill palette is really pretty, just like a soft shimmery white to open up your inner corner. One thing that I love to do is I'll take the same shimmering highlight that I'll use on my cheek and I'll put that on my inner corner. So this is a shimmer highlight that I love from ColourPop. I'm going to apply that in my inner corner, but I'll also use it on my cheek later. And see how it just like opens up the eye. And if you wanted to, you could even just take this all over your lid. I'm also going to take a little bit of that and apply it underneath of just the highest point of my brow. You don't want to take a shimmer and apply it all over because it'll make your eyes look super puffy and just like too shimmery. I only like to dot it right up here and lightly feather it out using a light hand, and then I'll even take my finger to soften it. So as a beginner, I don't recommend going in with a super thick, heavy foundation because if you don't know how to blend it out, it's better to start softer and slowly build it up if you want coverage. Good universal foundation that I find works for so many different skin types is the L'Oreal Infallible Freshwear Foundation. This one's great because it's a nice satin finish, so if you are more dry, you can use it. If you're more oily, you can use it. So I'm going to go over different foundation brushes that you can use to blend out. So if you have a small dome brush like this, that's super dense and synthetic, this is going to give you a lot of coverage with your foundation. So it's really good for buffing in the skin. A little bit of product will go a long way because this isn't going to pick up too much. This one is by Real Techniques. If you want a more natural finish with a foundation, you can take a fluffy dual fiber brush like this. This one is by MAC. So many brands make them. But since it's not like really fluffy, it'll take your foundation, it'll absorb some, and then spread the rest out. So you'll get a very sheer amount of coverage. If you're somebody that tends to be heavy-handed, this is a good brush because you can't pick up too much product because it's gonna absorb some for you and give you a more natural finish. And then if you want more medium coverage, this one is by MAC. e.l.f. also makes one, Morphe makes one. The same dual fibers in this brush. So this will still pick up some of the foundation, but it still has enough density to where it will give you some more coverage with it. This will give you more of a medium coverage. And then the next option is Foolproof. It's a beauty sponge. This one is by e.l.f. It's by far my favorite. I feel like this is like the best quality beauty sponge for so cheap. It's only $5. You want to use these wet. You want to damp it because once they're wet, they won't absorb as much of the foundation. And then it also gives like a more natural finish to the skin. With these, they kind of do the work for you. It'll absorb the perfect amount, give you some coverage. This is like good for pretty much everybody. And then a sponge like this is also great for blending out your concealer too. So you kind of have one tool for multiple products. Start off by doing a pump of foundation on the back of my hand, and for me, my face is so much lighter than my body, if you can see. So the foundation I'm using is a lot darker. If your body isn't 12 shades darker than your face, please don't go in with a foundation that is way darker. And I like to start here, and I'll just kind of like buff it out in a circle like this. I like to work with one side at a time. I like to start with a thin layer all over first. And then once I've finished that layer, if there's any areas where I want more coverage, I'll just slowly add it. Don't forget to get under your chin and on your neck. And then in between my brows, I just try to use a super light hand so I don't mess up my eyebrows. And I do my forehead last because I find that my forehead barely needs any coverage. I feel like most people don't need a lot of coverage on their forehead. I find that patting gives you like a really even coverage and a super smooth airbrush. Don't forget to get your ears. So right now I have about a medium coverage. Like some of my skin is peeking through, but I'm not worried about it. I don't want it to be too caked on. So now you see my face is all like one-dimensional. All the color and dimension got taken away. So because of that, I like to take a brighter concealer under my eyes to bring the center of my face forward. So basically like down your nose, your chin, and on your cheeks, you want that to be a little bit brighter, because naturally you have highlights there. This is a little bit brighter, and then you have your natural contours underneath of your cheekbone. To do that, I'm going to take my Milani Conceal and Perfect Concealer, and I'm just going to lightly dot this under my eye, and this will work as a highlighter to brighten up my under eye. There are two different highlighters. There's concealer that you can use to brighten and highlight your under eyes. Then there's also shimmer highlighters that I'll show you later that you use on your cheekbones to kind of make them pop. So I'm gonna start by just dotting this here, just doing little stripes. I'm gonna put it down my nose and also on my chin. And I also like to sometimes put some on the side of my mouth just to conceal my mustache. Oh, and don't forget about the sides of your nose, because I feel like that gets super red on me. And then to blend it out, I'm just gonna take the pointed part of my sponge and I'm just lightly patting it. You don't want to rub under your eye. You want to be super gentle because you don't want to take away the coverage of the product either. And this will also help clean up the edges of your shadow further. But you want to be really careful when you blend out that area. Now see how some of the dimension is brought back to my face. This is nice and bright. And then I have my foundation everywhere else. At this point, you can set it with your powder and you can move on. Or I'm going to touch on a more difficult topic that if you are a beginner, you by no means have to do this. However, if you've already like tiptoed into bronzing and contouring, I just want to show you guys so that way if you wanted to incorporate this in your routine in the future. So we're going to touch on contouring. Multiple ways you can contour. You could contour with a cream product and use this before you set your face with a powder. Or you can contour / bronze with a powder bronzer after you set your face. So the purpose of contouring / bronzing is bringing warmth back to your face, bringing dimension, sculpting the face, because like I mentioned earlier, once you do your foundation and concealer, those natural shadows kind of disappear. So this is just going to like take in certain areas so you look more chiseled. Creams are going to give you more of a defined look. Powders, I find, give you more of a diffused natural look. That's why I recommend if you're starting out just using the powder. So I'm going to show you guys how you can cream contour the easiest way, and this is using the Wet n Wild Oaks on You contour stick. What I love about these is that they blend out really nice. And this color is great if you are similar to my skin tone, because as you can see, it's not a lot darker. So it's not going to look crazy. This I like to apply to my forehead. I have a really large forehead, so I apply a good amount of bronzer there / contour. If you have a small forehead, please skip that step. Apply some on my cheeks and then also on my jawline, and that will just help kind of create more definition here. So if you do have a double chin or if you want to conceal anything, this will help with that. And to blend out bronzer, I normally like to use a brush like this, something that's slightly dense but does still have some movement to it, so that way it doesn't leave the product super harsh. So I'm just lightly going in circular motions. When I apply it on my cheekbones, I like to just pat it versus rubbing it, because I find if I rub it, I just get the product everywhere. You don't want to drag your contour too far down, because then it defeats the purpose and you're making your face look like really long and muddy. To focus the contour kind of like right at the top of where my ear is, do a little line there, angle it, and then I just lightly pat it. You don't want to bring your contour all the way down either, because you don't want it super dark in this region either. So now I'm just going to set my whole face. So when you set your face, you have two options. You can use a transparent powder like this. This is the Rimmel Stay Matte powder. Something like this isn't going to really give you any color payoff or color to your skin. My favorite powder to set all of my cream products together is the Maybelline Fit Me powder. This one, as you can see, has a little bit of color to it. It matches my skin tone, but it's not too heavy of a powder. If you have drier skin, I would only recommend like setting your under eyes, and that's about it, or your T-zone. You don't necessarily need to set everywhere else. The reason why I always suggest though setting your under eyes is because if you don't apply a powder there, your concealer will start to settle and lines increase. Or if you have drier skin but you still want to set your whole face, just use a more hydrating powder. So I know Maybelline has a powder, the Fit Me, that's not the matte and poreless, that is really good for drier skin. If I want more coverage with my powder, I'll use a denser brush like the one that I mentioned earlier. Anything dense is going to pack on more product. Anything fluffy like this is going to disperse it and not pack on too much. If you have drier skin, maybe a brush like this would be good to use with these powders, because it's not going to pack on too much of it. It's going to absorb a lot of it, lightly graze it on the skin. Me, I have more combination skin, so I like to either use a brush like this, or I like to use a brush like this that's like slightly dense and fluffy at the same time. And I like to just pat it circular motions upward. Then when I get to my under eye, I always like to pat it inward. Your creases naturally come out, so if you set it inward, it just prevents your eyes from creasing and it helps smooth out your under eyes a little bit more. Now we are completely set. You can stay there, move on to your bronzer, but I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about baking. Maybe you may be wondering what that is. What's the difference from setting your under eyes and baking? Setting your under eyes would be literally what I just did right now. Baking is taking a loose powder and you're taking a good amount of that and putting that underneath of your eye. Basically what that is doing is you're applying a good amount of that powder, and the warmth of your skin is literally cooking that powder. So when you sweep it away, your skin holds on to a little bit of that powder still, and it gives you more coverage. It gives you a brighter under eye. If you have super textured skin, or if your skin is very dry, I don't recommend baking. If you do bake, I recommend avoiding it getting too close to your under eyes, because then it can start looking super crepey. One of my favorite baking powders is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus powder in the shade Banana. And basically this, I would focus on all the areas where I put that lighter concealer. I'm gonna start it on the sides of my nose, and then I'll also apply it under my eyes, patting it inward. This is something that's good to do if it's like a special occasion and you need your makeup to last a really long time. If you have super oily skin, this is good to do because it really does help lock the makeup in place. I'm basically focusing this on all the areas where I normally get super shiny, which is normally my T-zone. Normally whenever you do bake, you want to let it sit for a little. Bronzing and contouring are pretty much the same exact thing. Bronzing is like giving an all over warmth to your face. Whenever you contour, you're basically just applying a little bit more of that product to chisel it out even more. Bronze slash contour, I like to take a smaller dome brush like this, something that will give definition, but it still has some movability to it, so it won't pack on too much product. The Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, perfect for beginners because it's not going to pack on too much. And basically, I'm going to do the three. So I'm going to apply it on my forehead, on my cheekbone, and then underneath of my jawline. And then with a smaller dome-shaped blending brush, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the bronzer and just put that on the sides of my nose. This will just help give some more definition to your nose. So now I'm going to take the same brush that I applied my first powder with, and I'm just going to move my bake away. So for blush today, I'll be using this one by Milani called Coral Cove. It's like a really pretty brighter pink color. This one is matte. If you like more of a glow to your skin, Milani also makes really pretty, more luminous blushes that will give you a soft glow without having to use like a separate shimmer on your cheek. And to apply the blush brush, I'm just taking a smaller powder brush like this. This one is still fluffy, so it won't pack on too much. Just like to take barely any, and always tap off the excess. Put this right on top of where we place the bronzer. So I'm just lightly tapping it here. So sometimes I like to add an extra sheen. So to do that, you would use a shimmer highlighter. So I'm gonna take the same highlighter that we use on the eyes to highlight my inner corner. This is the ColourPop Super Shock Cheek Pearlized Highlighter in Wisp. And I'm just lightly patting it only on the high parts of my cheeks. Kind of see how it gives a soft glow. I'll apply some normally above my brows too, just to lift them, and then just a little bit down my nose. And then last, you would apply your setting spray. Setting spray, again, it's optional, but it does make a difference. Setting spray will help just melt all of your makeup together so that it doesn't look like a bunch of products sitting on top of each other. If you have more oily skin, I highly suggest the Maybelline Lasting Fix setting spray. And then if you have more normal to dry skin, the MAC Fix Plus, I swear by, it just melts everything together. Eyes are almost done. I'm just gonna move on to the lower lash line. I'm gonna take the same pencil brush that we used earlier, and I'm gonna dip into the bronzer. But I'm gonna use this bronzer to just sort of line my lower lash line. I just like to apply a little bit of shadow down there to give definition. For beginners, I don't recommend using a liquid liner. If you do use a liquid liner, I suggest using a pen like this, something that you'll get a lot of control with. But I feel like the safest bet is just using like a regular eye pencil or one that twists up, just because these are normally way easier to control. But just showing you the brow liner because that'll be way easier to apply. Right on my lash line and a little bit above it. And I like it thicker on the end here, and then I'll taper it inward. Alright, and then now I'm just going to show you for learning purposes how you would use an eye pen like this. I'll zoom you guys in. Apply it flat like this on my lash line, and I'll just stamp it. And I'm literally just like connecting the dots. I don't do a line all the way across because that's how you mess up. You just want to lightly stamp it. If you're wanting to test out a lip pencil, I recommend using a lip pencil that's just like one shade darker than your lip. So I'm taking this one by LA Girl. It's called Keep It Spicy. And again, same thing like we did with the liner. You don't want to do one line straight across because that's how it gets all wonky. You just want to do short little tick marks. So what I like to do is I'll start right here on the bottom of my lip, and I'll just do short little tick marks like this, following my natural lip line. And then I'll come to the corner of my lip and I'll meet it where I put that line there. Then once I get to my Cupid's bow, I like to do an X because it just, I don't know, helps me create a guideline. I go to the corner of my lip and I meet up where I put those X's. Taking a color pretty similar to my lip tone. This is the color Baddest Beige by Maybelline. This one is a little bit lighter than my lip. So whenever that happens, if you put on a lip color that you feel is a little bit too light, just take a little bit more of your lip pencil And I like to color in the edges. For beginners, I normally recommend matching your lips exactly because having too nude of a lip can look crazy. Having too bold of a lip, if you don't know how to line your lips right, can look crazy too. So now I'm going to apply mascara. My Maybelline False Lashes mascara. Alright, I wasn't going to show you guys, but I feel like it's important. So I'm going to also show you guys how you can apply false lashes. So to apply false lashes, I like to use Duo Lash Glue. I'll show you guys now. So I'm just gonna put some on this card. So I normally like to let that set for a couple minutes while I'm, like I said, applying my lipstick or whatever. So now I'm gonna be applying these Amazon lashes. Lashes like these are great for beginners because the lash band is still super flexible. So these I have already worn, so they already fit my eye. But if these were brand new lashes, I would take them out of the case and I would put them on my eye like this. If it was coming all the way in here and poking my inner corner, then I would trim off it to where it meets like my eyelash right in here. So to apply the lash glue to my lashes, I like to take a Q-tip sometimes and I'll just take off one of the edges. Either I'll cut it or just twist it off. Just a tiny bit of glue like that on my lash. So about that much is going on my eyelash. And now I'm just bending my lash glue. And you want to kind of go in a U shape like this because this will help it fit the contour of your eye. If you let your lash glue and your lash stay straight, then when you go to apply it, it's going to be like all wonky, lifting at every corner. So you want it to already fit the contour of your eye. When I apply my lashes, I like to either use tweezers or my fingers. So I take the tweezers in the center of the lash like this. What I like to do is look down into a mirror like this with my chin up, head back, and I come down at an angle like this. I plop it in the center of my eye first. I breathe. Then once I plop it down in the center, then I'll secure my inner corner and then my outer corner. And also before you apply it, you want to make sure you let it dry for about 30 seconds to a minute. If you apply it while the lash glue is still wet, that's when it's going to start sliding on you. And that's when you get so frustrated because it doesn't stick. So I'm going to apply it to the center first, looking down, chin up, head back. And then I secure my inner corner. And then I take my outer corner. I'm picking it up with the edges of my lash. And then I use the end of my tweezer to just pop it, or sometimes even my finger. And I just like to hold it for about 5 seconds. Alright you guys, so that wraps up for my makeup tutorial for beginners. I apologize if this video was so long. However, I hope that it was helpful for you. I hope that you guys at least learned some different tips and tricks. And like I mentioned, you don't have to use all of these steps. You can pick and choose the steps that you want to use for your day-to-day basis. But at least you have like a basic special occasion glam look that's super beginner friendly. If you did enjoy this video or found it helpful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Definitely don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified every Wednesday when I upload. I love and appreciate you all so much. I pray that you all stay safe. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!